think I would like to ask Dawn and Vanessa to go ahead and introduce themselves. So I don't make any mistakes here, because I don't want that. I know this will be recorded. It's being recorded right now, and will go most likely on our YouTube channel later. And if not in the YouTube channel, it will be in the replay section for our attendees to refer back to. So I would like to give this over to Dawn and Vanessa. Please introduce yourselves.
No problem. Thank you so much, Christina, for introducing us. And as she said, you are in the Office of English Language Programs session, and we're very happy to have you today and to share some more information about the resources we have as part of the American English. So we'll turn it over.
Perfect. Thank you, Vanessa. So the other thing I want to make sure of, also with us today, so Christina's here moderating. Also with us today, besides Vanessa, is Jamila. You will see her. She will be trying to motivate you to say things in the chat, highlight what the poll and different things. So a couple tips before we get started. Some of you were here last year and may already know these things, but at the top you have an event and you have a sessions, and you want to be chatting in the session. So if you want us to see it, you got to chat in the session thing. So you want to click on that and chat in there. So those of you already chatting with us, like Karina and Rosa and Maureen, we see you, you're in the right place. The other thing that you probably want to be aware of is watch for opportunities to take part in polls. And you'll see at the top where it says chat, polls, people, and Q&A. So if you're in the chat, that's where you're chatting. And when we have a poll, you'll see a little red dot pop up there to kind of give you a hint, but we'll try to announce it as well. All right, so my name is Dawn Rogier. I work on virtual engagement and materials development in the Office of English Language Programs. Christina, you might want to mute. I think we're getting some feedback that way. I don't know, I might be wrong. And maybe Vanessa too.
Oh, yeah, it could be. It could be, and I don't think I heard it because maybe it's my own feedback and I'm not aware. So thank you. I'll mute myself.
We'll do the best we can with what, because I may have entered. And so I work on virtual engagement and materials development in the Office of English Language Programs. And so that's what we're going to tell you a lot about today is our materials. And Vanessa?
And hi, as Dawn said, my name is Vanessa. I'm Vanessa Bordeaux-Flannes. I'm a regional program officer in the same office, the Office of English Language Programs in the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs for the Department of State. And I cover the Western Hemisphere, which includes Peru. So I'm excited to see you all today.
So what are we going to talk about today, Vanessa?
We are going to talk about a large variety of things. So we're going to be able to share with you first some great free language learning and teaching materials. I will show you where exactly on our website, as well as on our social media, that you can find all of these. We hope to have a fair amount of time for questions and answers as well. So as Dawn and Christina said, please feel free to use the chat area to put your questions. And there will be an opportunity for some polls later. Also, we'll talk about some in-person resources that you have, or virtual resources. One of the best ones is the Regional English Language Officer. So we'll call these RELOs, for Regional English Language Officer. And these are officers who are all over the world, and they oversee English language programs in anywhere from 1 to 17 countries, but they are there to help consult and advise different educational institutions like universities and governments on English teaching and policies, and they support conferences like this one. This one is organized by Relo, who is located in Lima.
Did you hear the bell by any chance?
I did hear.
You know what? I think it's time for a poll. So we are actually wondering, so Vanessa was telling you a lot about regional English language officers.
I did.
What we want to know is how many of you have participated in an in-person or virtual event with your Relo? Can we do a poll to see how many know who your Relo, or how many of you have participated in a virtual or in-person event with your Relo? So go to that little poll area up at the top, and you will see a question, and you're going to click yes or no. And let's see.
And they can be events like this one, because this is actually partially a Relo event.
Right. All right. So we've had 6 votes. So now I'm just counting who can figure out how to do the poll. See it? First, we're giving you a chance to see. So right now we've had 8 votes. I don't know how many people are in the room, but let's see. 9, 11. All right. So right now it looks like most of you have participated in an event. Those of you who've answered the poll. So Vanessa, where can we find relos?
That is a great question. So as I mentioned, they're all over the world. I know we have a lot of people today who are from Peru, but we also have people from other countries. So you'll see on this map, there's relos all over the world. And if you go to our website, which I believe Jamila will put in the chat for us so that we can see how to get there, you can find the nearest regional English language office to you. There it is.
So basically, if people are interested in things that we're talking about or more conferences like this, they should try and find their relo and let them know. And
exactly.
I think in case Denise is not your relo and somebody else in the region or in the world is your relo, make sure to let them know that you attended this conference today and what you liked about it.
Definitely.
All right. So today we are going to talk about the American English.state.gov website. It's a resource center for teachers and learners. It's got lots of great stuff on it. We're going to look at some of the materials, and then we are also going to do some of the activities, just because, I don't know, I like to have fun. Do you like to have fun, Vanessa?
Definitely. Much better than just watching.
Just watching, yeah. And also when we have fun in the classroom, I think sometimes our students forget that they're actually using English and learning English. So instead of always like studying and writing things down, it gives them a chance to increase their fluency. So the website has thousands of teaching resources, articles, and things like that. And one of my favorite is English Teaching Forum. So how many of you have used Forum in the past? And I think it's time for another poll while we talk about it. And so the question is, here's the question. What do you think it is? Have you read an article from English Teaching Forum? And guess what? I don't know how many of you know this, but I actually have the most, I was going to say newest, I guess it would be the newest, not the most newest, issue of English Language Teaching Forum. It's the 3rd issue of 2021. And what's really exciting, because I saw that Rosa from Ecuador is in our room, unless she already left. We don't know. I can't tell. If she's still here, in the upcoming issue is an article called My Classroom, written by a teacher from Ecuador. Ooh. So one of the nice things about Forum is you can write for it too as teachers. It's got practical ideas in it. It's got tips for teaching. And there's a great section called My Classroom. And the newest issue, which unfortunately is not available yet online, but coming soon. So you should be watching the American English.state.gov website for when it's there. There's an article there about My Classroom in Ecuador. Okay, let's look at the poll here. I'm going to take a look at the poll.
And just a tip, you can't see the answers to the poll of how many people have answered unless you've answered it yourself. So make sure to click over to that poll tab, answer the poll, and then you'll see what the other people have responded as well.
Right. So right now, 75% of people have actually read or used an article in Forum. And if you want, tell us in the chat box what the topic was about or what you found useful about that. So Vanessa, have you actually used anything from Forum or?
I have indeed. I've actually led some teacher training workshops that were based off of articles in Forum. We did one on using music in the classroom, which we'll get to talk about a little bit later, as well as using pragmatics in the classroom. And the articles are really nice because they have a lot of background, but also some really practical hands-on activities that you can do with your students or to practice with other teachers.
Wow. And if you guys are thinking about writing an article, you can find the submission guidelines on the American English.state.gov website. We encourage you to write it. Yolanda says that she did something with best practices. So that's great. So there's a lot of good information in them, and book clubs. You could do a teacher's book club where you pick an article, you read it, you discuss it, you try it out. So lots of great things that you could do as teachers to build your kind of community of practice together using Forum. And 2022 will be the 60th year of publication for Form Magazine. So it's been around for a while, and it's got a lot of great stuff in it.
Highly recommend.
One of the other things that is on our website, yep, Edison, you're right, board games.
Exactly.
How many of you have actually seen Activate games or use games in your classroom? And you can download them free online. Activate games is nice because, well, what I like about it is there are board games and cards and things you could do with them if you want to just get them out and do them. But it's really a tool for teachers to learn how to create their own kind of thing. So it gives you tips on creating things within your content. And Matilda says she loves Activates. And Edson says, I use them with various levels. Yeah, you can use it and map them. So, I think maybe we could play one of the games now. So this one is called, Which One Would the World Be Better Without and Why? It's a board game. You put different vocabulary on it. So there's vocabulary on the one, that you can download. But the idea is that you're picking vocabulary yourself that fits within your textbook or whatever you're teaching. So Vanessa, are you interested in trying it with me and everybody else online? Okay, so whatever Vanessa gets, feel free to type your answers in the chat as well. So I'm gonna roll this dice, and it is a 6.
Ooh, so
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Traffic, computers, and doctors. So everybody, tell us what you think. Which one would the world be better without and why? Traffic, computers, or doctors?
This is a good one. Let's see. I think some people will probably agree with me. So I think obviously doctors right now are super important. Computers are helping us connect with each other at this very moment, but traffic, yes, I see it as a unanimous decision so far in the chat. It's probably not great for the environment. It also makes me very frustrated when I'm sitting in traffic. So I am voting for getting rid of traffic.
It looks to me like a lot of people would say the same thing. Traffic for sure. So it's kind of intermittent. It's maybe that's obvious. Whereas traffic, as opposed to if they had said cars,
see, that would be more difficult, maybe.
But here it's very specific. Yeah. So Matilda says, save timeless pollution for our ears and lungs. Yes, I would agree with that. Okay, let's try something totally different. Can somebody, so you can see here how you could kind of make words, you could utilize them in different ways. How about put 3 nouns in the chat box? Somebody put 3 nouns in the chat box and we will play with those.
Ooh.
Okay, so 3 nouns in the chat box. Anybody?
Unrelated nouns.
Okay, you can put whatever you want. That's the thing with creative games.
Exactly.
You don't have to have it right or wrong. We don't have anybody brave enough to put their 3 up.
There we go.
Okay, so we've got rock, Santa Claus, and movies. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness, what a choice.
So I'm not even sure. Okay, so which would the world be better off without and why? Rock, Santa Claus, or movies?
Is this rock music or rock building material? This is the question.
Oh, well, if it's rock music, I get rid of that. So for sure, we're going to keep rock music and Santa Claus and get rid of movies.
Whew.
And we can have Santa Claus rocking.
There you go.
So, but what you see here, so the goal here is that you can take these and use them in different ways. They could be really, really simple, or you could make them more complicated. If you had young learners, you could put pictures on there for them to talk about. You could, if they're somebody like all of us who have pretty advanced language skills, you could really just dig in and talk back and forth and debate the answers. And you can adapt how you use them. So right now we're gonna still go with rock, movies, and Santa Claus. So one way to adapt this might be to say, in priority order, what's the most important to you, Vanessa? Rock music, Santa Claus, or I forgot, or movies. Or movies.
Well, since we've gotten rid of movies completely, difficult. I think I would probably also go with rock music because I really love singing, especially when I am stuck in traffic. So,
yep. So, yeah, you have to choose the purpose and why you're using something with the games, but it's really easy to take and adapt. And so that kind of material is there. So, DIY, do you know what that is?
I believe it stands for do it yourself.
And how might that work with games or teaching?
Well, sort of like what we've been talking about, that they're all very adaptable. So no matter what the needs of your classroom are or what materials you might have, you can change them up yourself and adapt all of these resources based on what you need. Like Mathilde said, it's a challenge.
That's right. And teachers are really good at that. Like we do that all the time. Like suddenly we have to rearrange the room, or COVID comes and we need to teach online, or kind of change how we do things. So teachers actually are pretty much masters of that. And it would be the same thing with games. You adapt, you change. If you don't have any dice, no problem, right? You could make papers and draw them out. Or if you don't have any markers, you could use bottle caps or earrings or buttons. Anybody have any idea? And create your own game.
Exactly.
So my question would be, does anybody have any other ideas for how you might do something if you don't have any dice and you want to play a board game? Coins, yep. A pencil. Yep, you could make a dice with paper, you could use coins, you could write the numbers on the side of a pencil and roll it, you could make cards, the last digit of a book page, you could just randomly open it up and say, hey, it's page number 2 and go to. So yeah, teachers are really creative. Or like there's a egg carton with a rock in it there, you could put numbers in it and shake it. So lots of ways to adapt. So here's another game that's there. This is called Picture This. And of course, tons of ways to adapt with this as well. And you could create with your own kind of vocabulary. So the most simple thing would be similar to what you see here, where one of your students sees one side, the other one sees the other side, and asks questions. So I'm looking at the picture side, and Vanessa's looking at the other side, and Vanessa could ask me some questions.
For example, Dawn, can you tell me more about one of the animals? Where do you think it lives?
I think they all live in Washington, D.C. National Zoo here. I'm trying to think, though, if I've seen them all, except maybe I don't know if I've seen a kangaroo at the Washington, D.C. Zoo. I'm not quite sure. I have seen a kangaroo, though, in Australia hopping around, where they think of them more like rodents, I think, and as exciting as we think of them. But so lots of ways to use like what's there and to adapt. And the next thing is on the website, or if you're lucky enough to have a Relo who gives you the actual paper copy, there is a teacher's manual that would give you different ways to use and adapt them. So some ways you might adapt are, so in like with the animals or with this, like here's a vegetable card, you could make a worksheet and have students like list out a vegetable with each of the letters. Or you could do kind of a back and forth with teams, and each of them had to like, so I might say asparagus, somebody on the other team has to give a B, or back and forth like that. So it's a hard one though. So feelings. If we go down to you, so we see sad, surprised, tired. Can anybody give me a feeling in the chat box for you?
Ooh.
I'm trying
the end of the alphabet gets a little difficult in English.
So a feeling with a U.
Has anyone thought of one?
Uninspired.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Ooh, Caitlin says underwhelmed. That's a good one.
Underwhelmed. Unfortunately, all the ones I can think of with you are like but understanding was good. So there's different ways that you can use them, and you can create your own. So for instance, maybe that vegetable card, that we had up, maybe those aren't the vegetables that are available in the country that I'm living in.
Mm.
So you can make your own, and even better yet, with vocabulary cards, get your students to make them.
There you go.
Like your students could actually make the cards and then play with them. And there's no better buy-in than if somebody actually makes them themselves. So there's just some examples there of the different types of cards that are there. And there's, of course, a lot of different ways that we could use them. Another resource is our Sing Out Loud series. So if you like singing, if you like rock music, we've got 3 different downloadable CDs, but they're MP3s with directions. And what's really nice about them is that you can download them, and there's directions and things with them. So we've got a children's Sing Out Loud that has, how many people are teach children in the room? If you teach children, Christina.
Christina does.
All right, Christina does. Yeah, and I like the comment, music is magic. That's right. And you can really get people motivated with that. But so on the website, you can download posters that go with them and different things for the children's song. I particularly my favorite children's song is Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. And the reason I like that one is because you can just sing it faster and faster and faster. And children will keep doing it until they're tired out.
It's excellent.
Kids are really kind of running around, and they don't stop. They just start saying, I'm tired, but they'll keep doing it. So it's a good thing like that. So Vanessa, have you used songs in the classroom?
I have. Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes is actually one of my favorites as well, because it's a full body experience. So it gets everybody up and moving and out of their seats and really engaged. But I also, like Edison, have worked with jazz chants. I have found those to be great as well.
Yeah, I love jazz chants as well. It really helps teaching rhythm and listening. So on the website, we also have American Rhythms, which is a compilation of U.S. kind of genres of music, from jazz to folk to hip hop. They all have positive messages, but this is just an example on the slide that there's also sheets that you can download with the lyrics and things. But the nice thing is, again, just similar to the games, is it's not just about the games that are there. It's the idea that you can take and create it, and it gives you ideas for using things with your own within your own context and songs as well. And Jamila's putting in links in the chat box for you to go to if you want to download or hear the different songs. All right. So Vanessa, any best practices or ideas if you use songs in the classroom?
Sure. So like we said, songs in the classroom are great because they're so adaptable. You can take this formula of pre-listening, listening, post-listening, and adapt it to whatever level your students are or whatever you happen to be studying. So pre-listening is something that's really important when you're using music in the classroom to give your students some scaffolding. You can introduce the activity, introduce some important vocabulary or grammar points that they're going to be seeing. And then when you're doing the listening, you can do the listening activity 2 or 3 times even, sometimes maybe at the beginning without visual aids, and then the second time with visual aids. So the students get some reinforcement, sing along if it's appropriate, or if there's words to what you're singing. And then post-listening gives a chance for your students to reflect on the activities and reinforce everything that they've learned. But you can do this over and over with all different kinds of those resources that Dawn mentioned.
And of course, does anybody remember the website? AmericanEnglish.state.gov. You can also download ideas that go with the different songs. And so what's interesting is there'll be some activities like here, there's kind of like a pre-listening where you could do a picture prediction before the song. So you might show something and say, what do you think? Maybe I show like a picture of a clock, and they can talk about what they think the song's going to be about, do some scaffolding. But there's different activities that you could adapt for different like pre-listening activities. Or post listening activities. You might do a role play, or you might have students write about it or draw what they heard. So lots of different ways. And I like, Christina, I use music to get them moving. Yeah, sometimes, you get tired of listening to things. And if I wasn't so worried about the technology, I would have played you some songs today. With the virtual environment, it's like you just don't know what's going to happen. Yep. And Edison, I agree. Music helps in several ways: pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar points, timing activities. And Jose, all your students want to be good singers. Wow. And yep, TPR with
yes,
kids.
Definitely.
And July says July, I don't know if that's a male or a female's name. So they used music yesterday to introduce a topic. Great. All right. Okay, so we have talked about games. We've talked about songs. And now let's talk a little bit about art in the classroom. So we're talking about different creative kind of thinking activities that help students like become more creative in their thoughts, creative in their language usage. Does anyone use art in the classroom? Art in the classroom. Have you used art in the classroom, and why might you use art in the classroom?
Always.
Always? Really? Why do you use art in the classroom? What are some of the reasons that maybe you might use art in the classroom? So what do you think?
To discuss, says Edison. Yeah, exactly. Art, just like music, can provide a great point of discussion for your students to practice their language.
That's right. And the other thing is, a lot of times with art, there isn't a right or a wrong answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, and it also gives people sometimes a voice to express themselves, or maybe their language skills aren't that good. Whereas this way, at least they're able to express themselves in another way. So to compare, to describe, to imagine a story, it's offering an alternative way of expression and giving people a more creative way. And like I said, sometimes there are no particular correct answers. So for example, the other thing with the Create to Communicate, which is a downloadable resource, again, for teachers, giving you ideas for using art in the classroom. Here's an activity where students could create like ink blots or, paint blots and things like that. It's pretty low resource. You could use anything to do it. For example, when I drink coffee, usually I make an art design I like to think on my shirt when I sip it. But it's easy to make things like this. So here's an example. And what I want you to do is I would like you all to think about, what do you see in this? What do you see? Put some ideas about what you see. What kind of things do you see in the chat? So Erica says colors. Edson is asking, is that art? A lot of people are saying colors, shapes, forms.
I see a hippopotamus, Dawn.
You see a hippopotamus, huh?
I do. The purple one to me looks like a hippopotamus mouth about to open.
And now that you say that, I think the red one might be a turtle.
Ah, could be.
And that green top one, is that a tarantula or some kind of spider?
Ooh.
So creatures, I see, Gustavo says he sees the Nickelodeon logo.
Oh.
People say critters. So, and you know what I saw to begin with? I saw ice cream.
Oh, very nice.
I saw ice cream. So the thing about this is it's a chance for people to express themselves. So with abstract art, people could talk about anything. And there's no right or wrong answer. So often when we're teaching languages, it's about getting things right, making sure you get the grammar right, making sure you use the right vocabulary. But if you give your students a chance to talk about something where there is no right answers, are those just colors? Are those critters? Is that really a hippopotamus? Are those clouds? It gives them a chance to build their fluency. So art can be really good at that.
Yeah, it can be really great for your visual learners too. Oftentimes we focus so much on talking and listening and speaking, we forget that some students really respond to the visual, and these are great for that.
Right, and I love, Angelina, I love your response of seeing a happy rainy day. I love that, yeah. And I like that it's happy and rainy at the same time, because it depends on where you're at, whether rainy is good or not. But yeah, I like that that's a happy rainy day. So that's an example of some of the ideas and the different things for using art in the classroom. And like I said, there is a Create to Communicate downloadable teacher's guide in the American English website. All right. Some of the other resources we have for teachers is our Facebook page. I wonder how many of you have seen the American English for Educators Facebook page. Who has seen it? Anyone taking a look at it? Yolanda gives us a thumbs up. I've seen it and very interesting. All right, July. So really what's interesting about it is, oh, thank you, Nicole. It's an amazing page. I think it's amazing because, I'll tell you why. Because, you know, if you have a Facebook account and you follow the page or whatever, you may not look at Facebook all the time, or you might look at it occasionally. What's nice about that page is, so those ideas that I've been talking about that are on our website, if you go to our website, there's so much there. You might, like, we might point it out to you today and you look at it, but then you don't know where to go or look at, you know, or you forget about it. Whereas if you are following the American English for Educators Facebook page, when you have the time and you look at it, there'll be an idea there that if you want to take it and use it, you can. So it gives you different ideas. So for example, it'll show you, like, if we have an event coming up, or it might point you to the Activate Games and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I should go and take a look at it. So it's a nice way to kind of like get like introduced to different resources as well. So it's there and available. We also have the American English webinars. Has anybody participated in a webinar? And should we do a poll to see? I think we should do a poll. So let's do another poll. Have you participated in a webinar, one of the American English webinars? So there's a lot of yeps. Let's see if we can try the poll. It's always good to try new technology and see if you, okay, so we're gonna put a poll in. Have you participated in a webinar? So go to the little poll up there at the top with the little red dot and answer. Wow, we've got all 100% right now. These either are the most technologically savvy people, so they've participated in webinars and know how to get to the poll, or most people have participated in a webinar. All right, that's great. So tell us, what do you remember? What are some of the topics, or what kind of things did you like in the webinar? You remember any topics? So we have a bi-weekly webinar session. Our next one, English for Tourism. Oh, so that was just not last time, 3 weeks ago. All right, that's great. Yeah, so 3 weeks ago, we had English for Tourism. So the nice thing is the webinars using games this week. Yes. Oh, so we have an AE webinar fan, I think, there. Classroom, that's right. So the American English webinars, again, if you're on the Facebook page, you'll see it advertised. We Zoom them to the Facebook page so you can watch them live there. We then put them on our YouTube channel. Gamification, yep, those are great topics that we've had. The next one is October 13th. And Jamila has just put in the chat box, if you have not seen a webinar or you want to go to the site to find out more about our live events, you can click on that. So the next one is October 13th, and the topic is going to be about interactive online activities. So, I wonder, Vanessa, if we should have watched that before doing our presentation today.
Possibly.
No matter what, you can always get new ideas and things. So the next
Very
one is
true.
about interactive online activities. But so those are our webinars. And we also have a Facebook page that's more of a learner type page. It's the American English at State page. That has almost 4 million followers. It posts things like, let me show you what it posts. It posts things like infographics for like learning tips. It might have an idiom of the day. It has sometimes animated videos that will explain like how you use things. It's good for learners, and it also gives tips on learning English. So it's a little bit different than our American English for Educators page, because that one is specifically focused on US teachers and giving you a chance to like think about professional development. And then the American English at State has more like learning tips, celebrating holidays, and things like that.
Even though it's a little more learner focused though, I used to use it when I was teaching because it would inspire me to have ideas of things that I hadn't thought to cover in my classes.
Or it's a great thing to just point your students to, and then maybe they could come back and say, hey, I saw, about raining cats and dogs. Or I saw a great way, the difference of how I don't say more newest, but I say newest, So it's nice because it gives little like manageable tips. And I think it's great. So here's our YouTube channel. I don't know how many people have been to our YouTube channel, but basically what we do on that is we put collections there. So those little videos that are on our Facebook page, we've taken them, we put them on the YouTube channel and kind of collected them there together. So like you might have an idiom list, or you might have a phrasal verb list. We also put those American English webinars there as well for people to go back and watch. So it's a great place to go back and like take a look at.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yolanda says she shares those with her English club.
Wow, that is great. So we've got almost way too many resources. Lots of opportunities. And I did see before that somebody said that they really like the MOOCs as well. So the online professional development programs that we have, they're called OPEN, or Online Professional English Network. It has courses, it has MOOCs. What does MOOC stand for? Who can type it in? Who can be the first person to type what MOOC stands for in the chat box? Let's see. Massive. Okay.
We got the M.
Massive open. Yay.
Yay, good job.
Yeah, so massive open online courses. That means anybody can sign up. It can be huge or it can be small. And you can take a MOOC. We've got different topics for teachers. We've got some for students. The thing about a MOOC, how many of you have actually finished a MOOC? Who has finished MOOC? Oh, great, July, me, yes. The problem with MOOCs is usually only about 8 to 10% of people in a MOOC finish the MOOC. The reason is, so July has badges even, that's great. So the reason is because it's a computer, you're taking it. It's easy to close the computer when you're tired. You're teachers, right? You could always be improving your lesson plan or like searching for a new game for your students. So, and you worked all day. So it's easy to close your computer and not finish. So the best thing, my recommendation is get a friend, get a group of teachers. If it's for students, get students to do it and take it together, because then you can talk about it, you can discuss it, and you can push each other to finish it. So MOOCs are great.
And hopefully at this conference, you're meeting some fellow educators, and maybe you can team up together and decide that you'll both take a MOOC or make a group.
Yep. So perfect. All right. So those are our online professional development programs. So we've got a lot. We've got a lot of online things. And so the goal for us today was to introduce you to where you can find resources, the American English state.gov website. If you don't remember anything else, if you remember americanenglish.state.gov, then you can find anything we talked about. So if there's a resources and programs thing, you can get there and it would take you to the open site where you could find the MOOCs and what's happening live. The English teaching forum is there. So americanenglish.state.gov. And as you know, as teachers, the more you repeat things, the more somebody remembers them sometimes. So hopefully tonight, when you're going to go to sleep, you'll be going americanenglish.state.gov, because if that's the one thing that you remember, you have got this whole presentation in the palm of your hands. All right. And so we hope that you will join us on our American English for Educators page. You can also follow the at State page if you like. The American English at Educators page will give you gradual tips for different things that we're doing. And so now what we want to know is, what is your favorite resource that you heard about today? How could you use it in the classroom? Was there anything you learned about today? VOA, yes, VOA is a great resource. VOA stands for Voice of America. So depending on where you're at, you can get the VOA and listen to things. And Jamila says it's poll time. All right. I got my bell.
There you go. Belated bell.
If only we were in person, we could. Okay, so what we want to know is, have you participated in or facilitated a MOOC?
Oh.
Okay, so have you participated or facilitated a MOOC? All right, so 75% say yes and 25% up.
Oh, we should.
25. Okay, so I encourage you, if you haven't, to try out a MOOC. I encourage you, if you have not tried out a MOOC, definitely to try one. And you can go to the American English.state.gov website. Under resources, it'll take you to the open, and then you can find out what's open to enroll in. But I still want to know, let's see what. All right. Oh, so Edison finished one on journalism. All right. Does anybody have a favorite American English resource that they've used in the class? I know before we heard about Activate, like people have used Activate.
It sounded like people have used a lot of our music resources before as well.
Yeah, the Activate book is it's actually really, really fun, I think. And that's kind of what's nice. English webinars, yep. There's a lot of resources. Forum for ideas.
I agree. It's a great resource when you're stuck for ideas.
It's also, you know what else it has in it? I don't know if you know this, Vanessa, because it's a relatively new feature, new in the sense of like 2 or more years old. Anything newer than 10 years is kind of new to me. Maybe it's not that new. It has a reader's guide. So
very nice.
Yeah. So if you were going to read and like kind of share this as a book club, there's a reader's guide with like discussion questions, just like you might have in a book club. So it's good for that. So do we want to take questions now?
Before we take questions, really quick, I want to also remind everyone that another thing that is available at americanenglish.state.gov is that RELO information, so the Regional English Language Officer information. If you click on About Us and Support Near You, you can find your nearest Regional English Language Officer. I know we have some people who are from countries other than Peru and from all over the world. I think someone just joined from Egypt, I saw. So look on that website there, which is americanenglish.state.gov, to find your nearest RELO, and they'll be able to direct you to some more resources as well. All right.
Perfect. And I noticed that Edison says they missed the print version. Yeah, we still have print versions of a lot of things, which is another reason to talk to your RELO, because they would know how to get them. But I always like to say that even if you don't, I know I still like to touch paper. but at least it still is available online everywhere. So feel free to ask some questions. And yeah, you can find, and I like that Jose also said that he likes working with tutorials from YouTube. That's a great idea as well.
Okay, we've got a little bit of time for questions still.
So Christina has nicely asked, are MOOCs free? That is a great question. They are free except for your time. So the MOOCs that we offer from the Office of English Language Program and that your RELO has to offer, they are all free, online, massive, open online courses. Open generally means things are free or open educational resources. Sometimes, occasionally there will be a MOOC that might ask you about paying for a certificate, but you can usually still, that's not our MOOC, but the American English MOOCs are all free. So that's a great question.
Yeah.
And if I could jump in here, I just want to remind everyone that you can find the Q&A tab. So make sure you're clicking on the session chat. There are two chats, an event chat and a session chat. If you're just joining us, I know that our numbers have increased. Right now we have a total of almost 60 people watching, which is fantastic. We just reached 60, exactly. Wonderful. So if you're just joining, you can ask questions in the session chat. But you see underneath event and session, there is chat, polls, people, and then Q&A. So make sure you click there to specifically ask questions. Ooh, I do see a question. Okay. Could you make a competition for board games? All right.
So
let's see.
Some years ago, we did have a competition where we asked for board games and then we put them online for people to download. I don't think we ever printed any of them, but I think that would be a great idea. And I would definitely talk to your regional English language office about it. Because first, I think we'd want to start with like a regional kind of board game idea. But yeah, that's a great idea. I love the idea of a competition. Or do you mean creating board games? Or did you mean like a competition where people play board games? So you could do either. So
either one.
And I noticed another question about, so Yolanda asked about GOCs. So people who might not know what a GOC is, so that's a global online course. Those are similar to our MOOCs, except that they're a more kind of intensive. So usually they're 8 weeks long. They have maybe 25 people in them and are actively like having a teacher with them. So in order to apply for a global online course, you need to get a hold of your RELO. So that's why it's so important to know who your RELO is and to be in touch with them.
Yeah, and for those people who are just joining, because I know Christina said we had some people just join, this information that's up on the screen right here is the most important information for finding that RELO, which again stands for Regional English Language Officer. You go to americanenglish.state.gov and find your nearest Regional English Language Officer, and they'll be able to help you with the course enrollment, as well as all sorts of other things.
And I don't know, Christina, is there a way, because Christina has the magic of the platform, if there isn't a way for people to raise hands, is there? Or is there?
So they can not raise your hand in the sense that in a Zoom room where you can put a little icon that, hello, I'm here, but they can jump on with audio and video if you all are willing to do that.
Yep.
I know connection can sometimes be an issue, so it's really...
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody wants to share. I don't know if anybody wants to share maybe some of the resources they use or to ask a question live, but we could do that as well.
Okay, so let's see. I'm going to see if, I think Ibrahim wanted to come on, so I'm going to look for him. Oh my, I have a lot of people asking to put their mics and video on. I have to find your name, Ibrahim. Sorry, give me a moment. I'm scrolling. to find you. I'm not sure if you requested access yet. So there's a blue button on the top right here that says share audio and video, Ibrahim. So if you are still interested in commenting, you have to press that button first, and then I can allow you on. We have
and for Jose, who just asked, just to quickly answer that a MOOC is a massive open online class, which are some of the resources that you can find at americanenglish.state.gov.
I love that he asked that. You do not have to be sorry for asking. This is a new resource for you, even better.
There you go.
That's
Jamila just
wonderful.
wrote it out for you. Easier than remembering.
I cannot find you, Ibrahim. I'm sorry about that. Remember to click that blue button if you want to join with your audio and video.
Or Ibrahim, you can also, if you are able to write out your question, you can do that as well if we can't get the mics to work.
And then July asked about, is there a way we can have the hours spent in the MOOC? This is because my country, they're asking for that. So I think the question is there a way to be able to kind of get a certification of how many hours are spent in the MOOC for like training? So you want to show I did 10 hours of a certain topic. So I think it's embedded in your badge. So usually those badges that you get, they usually, if you click on them or through the badger, it will say what you did, and usually it gives an estimate of the amount of like hours that they equal. So take a look at your badges and see what's there. Now, whether you're able to turn that into, like, print that and turn that into something that you could show, like your supervisor, to show that you've had professional development or not, I'm not sure. But the badges usually have embedded information, because those badges now are being used for all kinds of things, like nursing certification and different things. And so it'll tell like what you did. And usually it includes like the amount of effort that's anticipated. Oh, so Jose also is asking, what's the difference in ESL, EFL classes? So as a new teacher, he's wondering so when we say EFL, ESL, so usually, so this is a very simplistic answer. This is just what they mean. So English for a second language versus English for a foreign language. So if you're in a country, for example, in the United States, and you need to learn English, you're learning it as English probably for a second language, because you're going to be using it and it's around you. English as a foreign language is usually in places where you're not using that as the means of communication. It's more of a foreign or a strange. I don't know how to, I don't know. What would you say, Vanessa? How would you kind of describe that?
I think that's more or less the differentiation, but I think Edison is saying in South America, they tend to use the term EFL more. That could be true, which would make sense in that English is a foreign language, which is typically taught overseas.
Yeah, because it's not a regular means of communication. It's a foreign language here as opposed to a second language. In places like South Africa, where people are speaking English and a multitude of other languages, or South Africans, or different things, or so like in Spain, it would be English as a foreign language. The normal means of communication for government and things is Spanish.
But of course, we know that everyone has a different linguistic background, and people might be growing up with all sorts of different languages. So,
right. And I think usually on a practical level, the difference is somebody's going to need that to communicate. They're going to use it as a second language, as opposed to using it maybe for tourism or for studies. Okay, and Nicole is asking, what's the difference between an open course and a MOOC? So open, Online Professional English Network, includes global online courses, massive open online courses, and American English live webinars. But the difference between a global online course and a massive open online course is the MOOC is open to anyone. Everybody can join. There could be thousands of people in it. It kind of runs on a schedule where you're interacting and there's things you have to do. And there's kind of a moderator who might be, like facilitating. The courses, the global online courses are like a class. There's maybe 25 people in them. There's a teacher that's giving you feedback. You've got graded assignments. It's a course, and it's usually 8 weeks.
And Dawn, it seems like there's a lot of interest in certificates. Can you explain which of those that you just mentioned come with certificates, or if they all do, any of them, which ones?
Nope. That's a great question.
Or badges?
I think most of them have badges.
There you go.
Most of them have badges, and your relo may produce you. They may produce a certificate for any of those if they want. The global online courses that are 8 weeks, usually the university or the host institution issues a certificate at the end of those. But even the MOOCs, maybe your relo will issue you a certificate. So it depends. So I would talk to your relo.
Another reason to go to American English, state.gov.
Yeah. So I think we've only got 1 minute left. This has been really fun. And I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy the rest of the conference. I mean, it's so exciting to see all the different sessions and the opportunity and the exhibition booth, the exhibitors hall. So thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to hear how you've been using our resources.